we want to welcome Randi Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers. Good morning to you, Randi. You have made some news over the last week, I believe, as your position, both personally and as a union, has shifted around the idea of vaccine mandates. Can you tell us about your latest thinking?
Sure, Andrew, and I appreciate our back and forth on this as well. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad we were able to. We should tell the viewers that we had talked last week. I had sent out a tweet because I had some frustrations with one of the New York teachers unions that were not providing vaccine mandates. You had come back to me. I think you thought I was too harsh at that time, but I also think you were maybe in a different place, but your view has shifted a bit. So let's discuss.
Yeah, good. So look, let's see. Let me say where my personal view is, and we are in the middle of discussions within the union this week about the guidance and our and our national policy. So we're not quite there yet, but we've been almost every night having these kind of discussions. So we believe in vaccines. My union has believed in vaccines. We're over 100 years old, probably for every single year of that. And in fact, teachers have, I don't know another profession, maybe with the exception of doctors, where you have a 90% vaccination rate. And from all accounts, our data, the White House's data, NEA's data, that's where teachers are. So teachers have actually really stepped up here, and they understand the importance of vaccines. What I said on Sunday was that I thought we should be working with our employers on vaccine policies, including vaccine mandates, not opposing them. And what that means in kind of labor relations talk is that you're bargaining over the impact of it, meaning an employer will come up with a policy. Joe Biden has said, that's the way we're going to be dealing with vaccine issues in the country, not having a national mandate. And you're seeing, there's not a whole lot of profiles encourage. Look at what the governors are doing in Texas and Florida, and my hair is on fire for that. But, so we're going to be doing it through employer decisions on vaccine policies. And that means that, our members should have a voice in it. There should be the medical and the religious exemptions, and, there should, be, some discussion about time off and about what happens if there's, God forbid, a reaction. All of that's the kind of stuff that unions do. But we have to be, my personal view is that we have to be working with our employers, not opposing them. And frankly, that's what you're seeing this week. In California, both big teacher unions, the California Teachers Association and my union, the California Federation of Teachers, is supporting Governor Newsom in the statewide test, vaccine or test. In New York City, Michael Mulgrew has supported Bill de Blasio in vaccine or test. In Washington, D.C., my local leader has done the same thing. And, but the last thing I'll say is this. This is what really scares me. In the last 3 weeks, we've gone from the number of kids testing positive from 20,000 to 40,000 to 72,000. Kids under 12 can't get vaccines. This Delta virus is very transmissible. So if we need to be in school for our kids, with our kids, but we need to keep everyone safe. And that means vaccines are the single most important way to do it. And the second way to do it is masks.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you specifically about some of the red states like Florida and Texas, where you have laws in place that effectively prevent masking and very well may prevent vaccine mandates as well. You talked about teachers across the country at a 90% vaccination rate. I wonder how regional that is and what that looks like in some of those states, and what you tell some of your own teachers in states where they have hesitancy or worse, they believe politically they just do not want to take it.
Well, look, there's 3 or 4 different, as I said, my members are the most amazing people look, I'm biased, but I think they're amazing. And I think teachers and school bus drivers and others are amazing. They've been heroes through through this whole COVID. They've, whatever's been thrown at them, remote, hybrid, in person, they have really tried to make it work, and they've been who engages kids. So I'm tired, and you've heard this in my back and forth with you. I'm really sick and tired of them getting scapegoated. But to your point, yes, there are regional differences. And also to your point, Andrew, there is this disinformation that is out there is unlike anything I've seen in my life. We've had people who have been anti-vaccination in the last, 10, 20 years. But vaccinations have been, every single state requires vaccinations for kids to be in school. When there's been outbreaks in different places, we've had vaccinations. It is a part of our life to keep people safe. I remember, having a polio vaccination. I remember rubella, measles, all of that. It was part of our duty. It was part of our responsibility, of community responsibility. So we're trying to meet fear with facts. And the biggest, and I've talked to the White House a couple of times this week, including the president, talking about how we need to be better in terms of debunking these. And I think that the FDA approval process is going to be help. I've heard people say, I want to wait till final authorization. And then there will be some people for whom medically they can't, or for whom their convictions say they can't. And I think we're going to have to try to figure out how to size that as little and as low as possible. But that's part of the reason why, for kids who can't, that's part of the reason why I think these vaccine, particularly this
Randi,
vaccine.
does the teachers union advocate for vaccine mandates for all students over the age of 12? And do you anticipate that the teachers union would advocate for vaccines under 12 when they become?
So right now we're taking this step by step, Andrew. I'm, as I said, personally, I believe everybody should get a vaccine. And ultimately, I believe that we're going to have vaccines for COVID as a way of life. But it's very hard right now to advocate for all children to get when kids under 12 are not even eligible yet.
Randi, thank you to all your members for being the unsung heroes for our kids during this pandemic. At the same time, if you are a parent of a child right now and you're considering whether or not to send the child back to school, particularly if the child is under 12 and not eligible for a vaccine, does that parent have a right to know whether or not the child's teacher is vaccinated?
Well, ultimately, it's a good question. I don't actually know the specific answer for that. I'm sorry, I should, but I don't. But ultimately, I think that what a parent in all of these policies here, what a parent is going to know is that that we're doing everything in our power to keep kids safe, and that is our North Star. I don't believe in terms of, this is part of what this is part of what we have to work out in terms of employers, whether there is a strand of people who believe that this is part of HIPAA. There's a strand of people, including myself, who believe that this is disclosable as part and parcel of employer vaccination policy. And so it's one of the things that you have to work out it's one of the reasons that we should be working with and not opposing our employers in terms of vaccination policies.
Is this a union decision whether or not to disclose? Is it a school system decision whether or not to disclose? Because as a parent, I feel like I need that critical information. I'm deciding right now whether to send my unvaccinated child amidst a surge in Delta back to school with potentially an unvaccinated teacher. Shouldn't I have the right to know?
So this is the issue. So what happens? This is the issue I get. What happens when you have an amazing teacher, 30 years teaching, where it is, there's a medical reason why that person should not get a vaccine, and all the other precautions are done. And, so I think that this is part and parcel of what we need to do. The other thing is, we're going to also need to know, that this is why masking becomes so important. The layers of protection are really important. And the good news is in New York City and elsewhere, the vast majority of adults have had their vaccines. But this is part and parcel of what we have to work out in policies with employers. The disinformation about this is incredible.
Randi, we want to thank you for joining us and talking about all of these issues. And I want to reiterate what Melissa said. Teachers are our heroes, and we really do hope that we can make it through this next school season and do it safely. Thank you for joining us, and look forward to talking to you again.